Welcome back to our live coverage of the Great Texas 300. Good morning from Surfside City. We're right out here on the beach, and as you can see, we've got some pretty ominous clouds. They have moved in from off the Gulf. Little pop-up thunderstorms here and there. If you're just joining us, if you missed the Dash start this morning, just an hour ago, we had the Dash fleet push off of the beach in two tiers. They're barely on the horizon now. We've got one boat that has come back to the beach twice now. It looks like a NACRA 5.0. Not sure how they're doing. They're about 2 miles down the beach right now. We're starting to get a good bit of rain coming in. And our intrepid reporters on the water are en route. If you're just joining us, if you didn't see the first segment this morning, in the pole position, winning by 4 seconds yesterday, John Casey and Dalton Tebow on the Cirrus R. Next to them, the overall leaders by 8 minutes, John Tomko and Ian Billings of Two Wire Sailing. And then the rest of the fleet is stacked up and ready to go. Our fight continues to be for third and fourth, and things really got shaken up yesterday. Sailboat Shop sailed a fantastic leg on their Tiger, and they've moved to within 4 minutes of fourth. So even though third and fourth are separated by 4 minutes, Sailboat Shop is only 4 minutes behind that fight. So it's really interesting that the third, fourth, and fifth boats are very close after 250 miles of sailing. These guys are really in it to win it. The conditions, we've got a report from the water that we're looking at a light and lumpy condition in between these thunderstorms. The thunderstorms are not very big. Not much even real thunder in them. You can occasionally hear a little bit of a rumble, but there's not a whole lot to it. And now, George, if you'd like to pan around, here's the Sail Revolution rib is now on site. They'll be catching video, stills, and live Facebook updates from the water. That's Carl Broger operating the boat, Jeremy Leonard pulling the trigger on the camera. They're on station and ready to play. Now, as you can see, that rib completely disappears in the trough. It does not look that lumpy out there, but Jeremy's telling me that the wave action really is. It's substantial in this lighter breeze. Quite a bit of a factor. It's going to change the way these teams drive, especially because they're going to be on the jib, not on the kite. It's going to be interesting. You can turn back around if you don't want to get the rain right in the lens there. And we're coming up on 20 minutes before the start of Texas. Overall leaders continue to be John Tomko and Ian Billings of Two Wire Sailing, snatching the pole position from them by only 4 seconds. They did it right in the surf at the finish line. Just happened to catch that last wave. John Casey and Dalton Tebow on the Cirrus R. Fighting it out for third and fourth right now. Team Monkey Business with Steve Pichet and Juki. And Team Quicksilver with Philippe and Mike. Just behind them, Sailboat Shop is working hard. They've had a good couple of days that have put them back in striking position for the fourth spot in the fleet. Yo Baby also having a good day yesterday. All the way down at the end of the line, restarting with the fleet again, Team Dallas. They've put an aluminum pole on the boat to replace the EO snuffer they broke a couple of legs ago. These guys are actually going to deck launch their kite today, if it's needed. Our forecast is kind of all over the place. If you're playing around the thunderstorms, and a lot of you distance racers will know that sailing toward that dark cloud can pay dividends, but it looks like mostly tight jib reaching and a little bit of upwind work. 5 to 10 is the forecast. We've got some local knowledge betting on a little bit more than 10, up to about 15, but I don't know if we're going to see that. We're not even seeing that in the dark clouds. We had a nice puff come through and a hard shift to the right that got the the fleet off the beach this morning for the dash. Jeremy's in a really good spot there for the start. He's going to get some great pictures looking back toward the fleet as we are inside 20 minutes for a start now. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage of this year's Great Texas. We've really enjoyed having your comments come in, both by text, voicemail, email, comments on the various forums where we're posting. Thank you very much for taking an interest in watching. We'd like to bring it to you again. Sail Revolution is going to do their best to bring you events like this more often. We have some good ideas about how to strengthen our signal and maybe go with a satellite feed rather than going wireless at some of these remote beaches. We know that the feed sometimes gets a little choppy. We apologize for that. We're doing the best we can from remote locations. Hopefully our feed is nice and good this morning. We're in a little bit more of a civilized area, at least as far as infrastructure goes. The wildlife continues to entertain, and I can heartily recommend the Purple Cow for breakfast. Kitty was super nice to us this morning. Great place to get some local color and some good eggs over easy. With me here on the beach, George Trevino. He's been dragging me around all week. Thank you very much, George. We appreciate you being here and giving me a lift all the way up and down the coast and operating the camera. It's a sometimes faceless, thankless job. We appreciate you being here. All of us taking time off of work to bring you the coverage the way that we hope you want to hear it. Again, keep those suggestions coming. Here we can see Rob Remmers going for a little dip. Again, his lucky flowered shorts on. It does not appear that they have been laundered. So hopefully the good juju he got on there yesterday is still on there for today. If there's one thing that the pushers learned this morning, it's that with this onshore and how wide the surf break is, it's a very shallow bottom out for quite a ways. The push is going to be critical. And the pushers really become the most important part of the boat this morning. And I think a couple of guys went to school on that this morning. If you were watching our first segment this morning, you saw Aaron McCulley. Not one, not two, three. He pushed 3 boats through the surf this morning. Even Lee Wickland wanting to get in on the action. He was pushing so he'd get a good idea of what to tell his pusher for the morning. Jose Cerdas. Jose, great ground crew. His son David on the boat. Karen, we want to let you know David's doing well. He's got his finger splinted and taped this morning. Still recommend a trip to the doctor on Monday. David Cerdas sailing with an injured finger when he got separated from the boat 3 days ago. Dog bone caught him in the finger. It was definitely dislocated when he got back on the boat. Lee got it back into the joint. But obviously that finger's still giving David some trouble this morning. He does have it taped, and he's ready to go. Kid's got guts. Coming up on 15 minutes before our start. This dark cloud has already blown through. There wasn't a whole lot to it. A little bit of a spritzing. Not even any kind of temperature change that you'd normally see with one of the more gnarly kind of afternoon thunderstorms off the Gulf where you feel that cold blast of wind and you know you're in for it. I don't think we're going to see anything like that. We do have some topping off cumulus clouds building up offshore, but I just don't see anything really threatening yet. Nothing's blown out the top yet. A lot of these dark clouds still inland. Again, that's not going to be a factor for us today. Onshore breeze. And it sounds like I'm getting a call from the water. Yes, I am. Good morning, Jeremy. How are you out there?
Good, Williams. How are you? Are you on the air right now?
Doing good. Tell me what it looks like.
All right. It looks it's definitely lumpy. we had some wind increasing a little bit. It seems to have backed off, though. And with these little squalls that are rolling through, we see puffs of breeze, but it's definitely kind of backed off at the moment.
Okay, if you can't hear Jeremy through my speaker, what he's saying is that a little bit of breeze came in with these dark clouds. There was a slight increase, I'd say probably 3 or 4 knot increase. But now you can see Jeremy just beyond on the break here, he and Carl in the Chum's Rib to give us coverage of the start. He said it is backed off again now, which is kind of what he saw as he came through the dash fleet, light and lumpy. These guys are in for a light and lumpy ride today.
That's right, John. It's very, very, very bumpy out here. And, of course, we're just beyond the surf line, and there's lightning all around us. I don't know if you can see the lightning with the buildings where you are, but there's lightning and, of course, big booming thunder occasionally. And here comes another puff of breeze I see kind of picking up here on the outside. So we'll keep you in the know as to what's going on.
All right, Jeremy, thanks very much. You guys try to stay dry out there. We're occasionally losing sight of you completely in those wave troughs. We do see the lightning. I'm just kind of ignoring it right now, but thanks for pointing it out.
Yeah, understood. Hey, you have a great time. I'll call you back in about 5 minutes before the start.
Gotcha. We'll talk to you 5 minutes before the start. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Leonard and Carl Broger in the Chum's Rib right off of the start line. Light and lumpy is the recipe. We've also had some reports yesterday of teams starting to see some weed in the water. Now, normally that's a real factor for this race. Hasn't been yet. But they started to see it yesterday, and the local knowledge seems to indicate that they're going to see more of it on the way to the beach this afternoon. Trey Garrison is in the water now. We're coming up on about 13 minutes before our start. We'll be getting a warning. In fact, I'm going to reset my clock now. If you're just joining us, this is our final day of coverage of the Great Texas 300. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage so far. We're going to have the start here. If you joined us for the first segment this morning, you saw the Dash Fleet leave. They're well on their way to Galveston at this point. 1 hour behind them, starting, will be the Great Texas 300 fleet. Pole position here in the Cirrus R, John Casey and Dalton Tebow. They beat John Tomko and Ian Billings, the overall leaders, by just 4 seconds to the beach yesterday. They did it right in the surf. It was pretty exciting. Then we've got a serious battle going on for 3rd, 4th, and 5th at this point. Only 4 minutes between each one of those boats. 4 minutes is nothing. Even on this tight jib reach, there's still differences in pressure. When the wind drops like this, it's all going to be about who gets to the pressure first and who can sail through the waves. Believe me, I have learned that sailing in chop and light requires a whole new tool in the box. These guys are going to have to ease that jib, keep the rig powered up, keep the boat driving all the time. And in these conditions, focus is going to count huge. If you can stay focused on your bow in the water, the telltales on the jib, and what your main is doing, teamwork on the sheeting, teamwork on weight placement, and both of you focusing on what's coming down the course as far as pressure, waves, and wind, that's going to make a big difference today. It's 40 miles, but a degree or two over 40 miles is quite significant. We'll be getting our warning here in just a minute. John Casey coming down to the boat to finish getting dressed. The Tomko family gathering around their sailors, wishing them well. They've got an 8-minute lead over second place right now. I talked to John and Ian about this morning and last night. As far as they're concerned, it's now a match race. They've been match racing John Casey now for a couple of days, and today they are not going to let him get away. They don't need to be in front of him to take the overall win. And there's our 10-minute horn. 10 minutes to the start of the final leg. For Brett Moss's benefit, I have to say that tiller crossbar looks like it's never coming apart. I think the third repair was the charm. I'll put a picture of that up as we get going after the start this morning. I'll get that up on the Facebook page. It is truly a Frankentiller now, with beautiful stainless steel bolts sticking out both sides. There's no way that thing's coming apart. Inside 9 minutes now. For those of you who have not caught all of our coverage, that tiller crossbar reference, John Casey has been plagued with tiller crossbar issues for the entire regatta. The first day, the threads pulled out on his tiller crossbar, leaving him with a hasty repair on the water, and his rudders were not square for that leg. And then yesterday, it pulled apart again. He was not able to effect a repair on the water. He completed the entire leg with just one rudder down. Helpful advice from JC's sometime skipper Brett Moss, in the form of emails, voicemails. I think he even flew a plane over Miami with a banner on it that said, "I told you to fix that." Well, Brett, it's fixed now. And I sincerely don't think I'm putting on the whammy by telling you I really don't think it can come apart again. For those of you who joined us during the roundtable last night, thank you very much for your questions. It was a very free-flowing exchange of opinions, ideas, stories, experiences, expressions of hope for the future of catamaran sailing, reminiscences about the past. It was really entertaining to hear some of these guys around a table just kind of riffing off of this idea to that idea. Everything from the Olympics to the multi-hull in the America's Cup to distance racing in the United States. A fond remembrance of Mike Worrell. Mike and Mindy did so much to bring distance racing to this sort of family of sailors that still have the feeling about distance racing today. Chuck and Judy Bargeron, who continued that tradition when Mike Worrell couldn't continue, and they kept the Tybee going for probably a couple years, even past its viability. We hope that race can come back again. It was a topic again this morning. People wondering if the Tybee could come back, if Chuck could bring it back again. It's going to take interest from sailors like you who have the curiosity to tune in for this kind of thing. Armchair sailors who have pushed out through this kind of surf on light conditions like this before. It's going to take guys like you to get back to the start line again to keep this sort of thing going. And I got to tell you, there are few finer venues than this stretch of South Texas. It really favors a nice spinnaker run. 100-mile legs, there was a real recalibration in the fleet. It seemed like those 100-mile legs on the East Coast sometimes could become insurmountable. Compulsory night legs that there was a lot of trepidation about. You don't want to spend 17 hours on the water. You don't want to spend 23 and a half hours on the water, coming in only a half hour before the next start. We've seen that. There was a real recalibration for these sailors when they got to Texas. The first time they ran this, they were worried about these 100-mile legs. 2 of them back to back. And you know what? It really wasn't that bad. We're inside 5 minutes now. When you've got a 2-wire spinnaker reach along the coast like this, the geography really benefits you. The sail configuration really benefits you. And these 100-mile legs turn into 5- and 6-hour endeavors. So it becomes less a test of sleeplessness and malnutrition. More a test of sailing fortitude, guts, and boat preparation, which I think is certainly something that a lot of you guys that I know out there, that's what you're looking for. So give the Great Texas 300 a try. I think you'll be surprised. The logistics are a little challenging on the beach, but it's nothing worse than we've seen at Kill Devil Hills, at Jensen Beach, dealing with the Mother's Day crowd at Hollywood. You guys can do this race, no doubt in my mind. Tomko moving down to the beach already. We've got Yo Baby pushed down to the water. We're inside 4 minutes now. George, I'll step around this side so you can pan down as the fleet moves down. Surprised that Lee Wickland isn't the first one with wet feet. And here we have Jeremy Leonard calling from the water. Hi, Jeremy. You're live on the air. What's happening out there, brother?
Patches. Of course, the wind kind of increases as these little zones of high pressure, these little squalls rolling through. And right now we're in kind of a low, but there are definitely some pretty big swells out here. We've almost been pounded by a couple of, probably 4-foot ground swells rolling into the beach here. So we're kind of keeping our distance off the beach, but it looks like the fleet is definitely getting ready. I see some boats coming down to the water, and we're in a great position to get some photos, and we'll bring you some action as soon as the boats clear the surf.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. If you can hear him, he's saying they've got 4-foot rollers coming in. Nice ground swells moving toward the beach. So these guys definitely have some surf to deal with, not only here where they've got a particularly wide break as the bottom falls away gradually off of this beach, but they've also got quite big swells to deal with once they get outside the break. As Jeremy said, there's a little bit more pressure that's rolling through every once in a while, but these are not big pressure increases. The fleet is going to be dealing with some light onshore to get through this surf.
That's right, Dad. It's a pretty treacherous beach launch situation, and when they get out here, it's just going to be a lumpy light ride all the way to Galveston.
Gotcha, Jeremy. Well, we're inside 2 minutes at this point. I will give you the fleet in just a minute. Thanks very much for your report, and we'll pan out to catch you as these guys get pushed off the beach for the final leg of the Great Texas 300, the 10th running. This is the final leg from Surfside Beach all the way to Galveston. Daggerboard's going in now. These guys are all stacked up. There's Lee down at the end, and Dallas just beyond him. Yost Auto. Minute 15 at this point. Rob Bob's got his game face on. Look at that. We're inside a minute now. Inside a minute for this final start. 1 minute. Dalton positioned at the front of the boat. You can see Ian's doing the same thing. You see the sailors on the bow nodding. That's their eye contact back with Trey Garrison here at the north end of the line. Trey's letting them know if they're over the line, backing him up a foot or two if he needs to. We've got 30 seconds to go for this final start. Team Quicksilver looks a little bit drier than everybody else. There's that midline sag that we're so familiar with. Team Kersey down at the end, that's Salvavita, Bo and George Kersey, father-son team sailing together through a tremendous amount of adversity. 10 seconds. These guys basically had to build a whole new boat in Matagorda. And here we go. The pushers are pushing. The horn's gone. A little bit of a wave here. JC's already steering down a little bit for some power. Tomko's doing the same thing, taking all the room he can get. Rob Bob is not giving up. Tomko's pusher's already off. Rob Bob's got his feet back under him. He's going to go for another push. Tomko is well low, but he's still well inside the break. Rob Bob going for another push. Looks like JC's got a flat spot to work with. Tomko's just underneath him. Team Sailboat Shop's looking great from that third position. And Quicksilver is following their lead. Tomko's still well inside the surf here. Quicksilver looking for a break. Can't quite find one there. Yo Baby looking for that break. There's a nice gap for him coming up if he can steer up into it. Lee Wickland's having all kinds of trouble down at the other end of the line. Looks like he's been tacked over onto port. That may be intentional. Lee may be onto something here. Team Dallas on port. And they're going to be the first ones through the break. Team Dallas on a NACRA 20 will be the first ones through the breakers on port tack. John Casey still looking for a way out. Tomko below him. The Tiger, Team Sailboat Shop, looking to drive right over the top. They're definitely getting out. Oh, Casey got set hard there. Lost a boat length. And another boat length. He spun quite out there. And it looks like they're going to have to put somebody off of the boat to get them going again. He's pointed back in the right direction. Still leeward rudder up, windward rudder half down. Tomko took a big wash there. Team Dallas outside, almost outside of the break now. Lee Wickland back on starboard tack, all the way down at almost at his starting position. But it looks like he's got some power now. It looks like he's found a flat spot and he's working through. Still looks to me like the Tigers winning the race through the surf here. Team Sailboat Shop. Tomko with another big wash back. But he's definitely made some ground on Casey at this point. That pole position completely erased at this point. George Kersey on the bow of their boat, paddling Salva Vida, trying to get through the surf. It's a tough spot to paddle from on that F-18. And we've got Yo Baby ready to go single trap on the outside. They have made it through the break. With all that freeboard, that is a tough spot to paddle from, George. I feel your pain. Bo washed back again. Casey looks like... Oh, and Tomko just took a big wave. And, of course, Lee Wickland, single trap. He's through the breakers now, and he is charging on the fleet. I think he's going to enjoy that extra square footage today. Lee Wickland all lit up on the outside of the breakers. It's not going to matter that he went out on port. It's not going to matter that it took him a while because he's in a great spot now. David Cerdas out on the wire. Beautiful jib reach. He's rolling right down on the fleet. Tremendous, tremendous ground he's making up right now. It's like Casey's outside the break now. He's looking better. Tomko got pushed back again. He is the boat closest in right now. But he's at least got some forward momentum going. Rob Remmers, come here. I've got a winded Rob Remmers here. I told him this morning he was going to be the most important part of the boat. How was that push? How did that feel?
Definitely hard. Very hard to get him out through his first break here. Then they got pushed back a little bit more, try to get him faster past Tomko is my goal.
And it looked like you didn't give up. You gave it another push. You went back for a third push. I really think that was key. Did you find your... Were you losing your footing there, or was the bottom uneven?
Bunch of shelves in there, and once it falls past your chest, then you got to come up on another sandbar. Want to make sure they got past that sandbar with their boards up, and then get to the next one.
Well done. Way to not give up and keep them going. Good job. Rob Remmer's out of breath there. He's got some gear to gather up and start putting their team together for the trek north. Looks like Salvavita's pulling well now. That's Tom Coe, furthest on the inside, furthest to the left on your screen. And the Chums rib is right on top of the fleet there. He's going to have a spectacular view. Looks like Casey is working his way up through the fleet at this point. He's going for height and clear air. Chums is just looking great. Single trap. Nice steady heel to the boat. This is where the NACRA 20 really feels like a tremendously comfortable ride. It is the Cadillac. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll bring you some live Facebook updates from the water from our guys in the duck. So keep an eye out for that. Bringing up the rear. Now on a nice jib reach and on a starboard tack. Headed north for this final leg. Team Dallas has got their boat rolling at this point. These guys love sailing. Boat looked well sorted out this morning. It was very nostalgic to get to the beach this morning to see those guys set up, and they've still got a big Virginia Beach sticker on the inside of the hull. Lots of tradition accumulated on that boat there. They don't feel any pressure. They don't feel any angst about bringing up the rear. They say they expect it, but they also said they wouldn't miss this for anything. There's two guys that love sailing. So we're going to pack up our gear here, turn it over to our live Facebook coverage from the water as the fleet moves its way through this last 40-mile patch of water to Galveston for the finish. Thank you very much for joining us. For Sail Revolution, I'm John Williams. We'll be right back with you 40 miles from now. Thanks for sticking with us. And watch the Facebook page. Click through to our sponsors. The 10th Great Texas 300 brought to you by Zyke, Team Yost Automotive, Team Juke Automotive, and our friends at Trap Out. Talked to Jason Smith on the phone last night. Thanks for calling in, Jason. It's good to hear from you. Wait a minute. I think we're getting a call from the water here. We are getting a call from the water here. Let me see if I can get it on speaker and see what Jeremy's got to say. Yep, I think we lost him. Yep, we don't have him. I'm sorry about that, but look for his live Facebook page updates as the fleet gets through him. Looks like he's going to try to follow for a little while, but as lumpy as it is, I don't know how long he's going to be able to hang in there in a rib like that. But hey, thanks for sticking with us this morning. Thanks very much. We'll catch you 40 miles from now. Look for our various forum and Facebook updates. We'll let you know when we're about to go live with the finish. And thanks very much. We'll catch you on the other side of this 40-mile leg. John Williams for Sail Revolution. We'll see you in a little while.